You knew the philosopher's robe before you knew the phrase for it. Diderot didn't set out to redecorate his life. In 1769, someone gave him a scarlet dressing gown, luxurious, elegant, nothing like the rest of his study. Within weeks, he'd swapped his old chair for a new one. Then his desk, then his prints, then his rug. Nothing was broken. Nothing had worn out. But sitting next to that one gorgeous robe, everything else he owned suddenly looked cheap, tired, embarrassing. One beautiful object didn't just sit in his room. It put every other object on trial, and almost none of them survived the verdict. You're the only one still tasting it. Though, that's the part that never makes the essay. Diderot got a scarlet robe as a gift, and within weeks, his old desk looked shabby next to it. So he replaced the desk. Then the wallpaper clashed with the desk. Then the chairs didn't match the wallpaper. He wrote about the whole thing, mourning the plain, comfortable clutter he used to love, admitting the robe now owned him more than he owned it. That's not an 18th century quirk, it's a mechanism. New couch, suddenly the rug looks wrong. New phone, suddenly the case feels cheap. The upgrades don't stop because the standard keeps moving with them. You're chasing a match set that never finishes, because matching isn't about quality, it's about a story your stuff tells about you. That coherent story is the whole game. Your possessions aren't graded on a curve against some universal standard, they're graded against each other. Swap one piece, and every piece around it gets silently reevaluated. The rug didn't get uglier overnight. The phone case didn't get cheaper. They just fell out of the narrative the new item is now telling. Your brain isn't tracking objects, it's tracking a story, and stories need every detail to agree. One inconsistency, and the whole scene reads as unfinished. That's the itch. And figuring out why your brain cares so much about narrative consistency means looking at where this wiring actually comes from. You get why the fridge photo felt wrong, but that itch didn't come from nowhere. Every single thing you own is quietly narrating who you are. Your phone, your shoes, your coffee order, they're not neutral objects. They're evidence, stacked up into a story about what tier of life you're living. So when one piece of that evidence changes, new phone, nicer bag, the story jumps ahead of the rest of the evidence. Suddenly your brain isn't looking at a couch, it's looking at a plot hole. And plot holes don't sit quietly. They demand to be fixed, which is exactly where this compulsion starts. You're not looking for a phone. You're looking for a matching set, and your brain just noticed you don't have one. That's the cascade. One purchase resets the baseline, and everything sitting next to it suddenly looks worse by comparison. The old case looks shabby next to the new phone. The tangled wired earbuds look ancient. Your desk, your chair, even the wall behind it, all instantly, retroactively outdated. Nothing physically changed. Only the reference point did. This is how a $30 accessory turns into an $800 spree, and how one repainted room can quietly convince you the entire house needs work, because comparison doesn't stay contained, it spreads. You've already found the pattern before it had a name. Retailers just monetized it faster. That complete the collection display in a furniture showroom isn't decoration. It's a coherence trap. Seeing the matched nightstand, dresser, and headboard together makes your mismatched bedroom feel wrong on a level you can't quite name. Tech accessory lines do the same thing with color-matched cases and chargers. The store isn't selling you an object. It's selling you a reference point, then letting your own brain do the work of noticing every gap between what you own and what you just saw. Once that gap exists, it doesn't politely stay in one room. It goes hunting for more things to disqualify. You feel like everyone else's life comes assembled in a set, matching, finished, on brand. Every scroll shows you a kitchen that all goes together, an outfit with no wrong notes, a trip that looks like a magazine spread. Your brain doesn't clock these as highlight reels. It clocks them as baseline. That's just what normal looks like now. So the bar for complete keeps creeping up, quietly, 100 times a day, and nobody sets it on purpose. It just accumulates. The result, your actual stuff, the stuff that used to feel perfectly fine, starts reading as unfinished, mismatched, behind. And that feeling doesn't fade when you close the app. You know your reach right now. Every screen, every scroll, every one-click buy. But watch what happens when life shrinks instead of expands. Get laid off. Move into a smaller place. Go through a breakup. The same wiring that made your closet feel incomplete now flips on your closet itself. Suddenly, the couch that fit your old apartment feels wrong. The suits from your old job look like a costume. You're not evaluating whether these things still work. They do. You're evaluating whether they still match who you are now. And when they don't, out they go, still perfectly good, because fine was never really the standard you were using. You're not the first to notice it. In 1772, the philosopher Diderot got a fancy new dressing gown as a gift. Suddenly, his old desk looked shabby. His chair looked cheap. His prints looked dull next to that one rich robe. So he replaced them, one by one, chasing a standard the gown had set. He later wrote about it, confused by his own spiral. 2 centuries later, economists gave it a name, the Diderot Effect. He'd stumbled onto real behavioral science before the field even existed. You're staring at a coherence gap? Here's the fix. Name it. Behavioral researchers have found that simply labeling the urge, "This is coherence, not need," creates a split-second gap between impulse and action. That gap is everything. Your brain built the desire to make your stuff match, not because you lacked anything. Once you see the mechanism, you can't unsee it. The couch doesn't feel incomplete anymore. It just feels like a couch. This isn't willpower, it's disruption. You're not fighting the urge head-on. You're pulling back the curtain on where it came from. And once you know the trick, the next question is obvious. How do stores build entire environments around keeping you from ever noticing it? You get a discount on the shirt, but the shoes don't feel optional anymore. That's why one in, one out isn't really a budgeting hack. It's a coherence patch. The rule doesn't limit spending by doing math. It limits spending by refusing to let the story stay open. Buy a new item without removing one, and your brain keeps auditioning justifications for everything nearby, restlessly, until it finds a narrative that fits. But force yourself to retire something first, and the story closes the moment the new item arrives. There's nothing left to explain away. It's not willpower. It's structural. You've engineered the loophole shut before your mind even goes looking for it. Which raises the real question. What happens when the room itself is built to keep that loophole wide open? You never bought the coffee grinder to grind coffee. You bought it to close a gap something else opened. That's the whole trick. Your stuff doesn't actually demand anything. You just keep treating matching as a requirement instead of a choice. So catch that pull. When the new thing whispers that the old thing suddenly looks shabby, ask who's really talking, you or the object. Enough isn't a fixed target waiting to be discovered. It's a line you draw, on purpose, before the room gets to draw it for you. Once you decide that, the whole aesthetic stops giving orders. It just sits there, quietly, yours.